The True Story of Smokey Bear. I've something to tell you, a true story. And it happened not too long ago. It all started in one of our great western forests, right here in the Lincoln National Forest in New Mexico. It was hot that May. I remember seeing deer bed down in the shade of the pines. The trout hid along the cool stream banks. Even the butterflies were resting. I remember particularly a little brown-colored bear cub that would leave his mother while she was dozing. He liked to play in the green meadow. As the month of May wore on, the green grass turned brown in the dry heat. The trout were becoming worried because the water in their streams was getting low. Sticks and pine needles were so dry they snapped like popcorn under his feet. Even the shade of the forest was no longer cool. Then the wind began to blow. It blew strong and hot and dry. The forest was ripe for a disaster. Then it happened. Some careless person flipped a light match, or left his campfire burning, or forgot to crush out his cigarette. One careless person, plus one little spark, started the whole thing. Suddenly, the little spark became a flame. Then, with the help of the wind, a patch of grass began to blaze. Quickly, it spread, until the flames became a roaring forest fire. The man in the lookout spotted the rising smoke, and he quickly pinpointed the blaze. Then he called the ranger station. "There's a big one starting up on Captain Mountain." Firefighters and heavy equipment rushed to the scene. But the going was pretty rough. A lot of hard work had to be done before the firefighters could get to the blaze. When they arrived, the bulldozers plowed wide fire lines, trying their best to stop the onrushing red fury. But the wind blew burning brush across the fire line, and the fire crossed the line. Birds and animals panicked as the flames roared along. In the heat and smoke, some were confused. So confused, they ran straight into the fire. Others tried to hide from the flame, but in vain. Animals ran as fast as they could from the fire. Even then, some did not make it, for a forest fire can sometimes outspeed a deer or a rabbit. More equipment and men were needed to stop the fire. Ranchers and woodsmen joined the fire lines. Soldiers were brought in from Fort Bliss, Texas, to fight the great blaze. They were all there fighting to end the work of just one careless person. Then another near tragedy occurred where 24 firefighters were battling a section of the flame. The fire in front of them was a ground blaze. They worked hard to build a line around it. But the wind began to increase. It blew stronger and stronger until great gusts were blowing at nearly 40 miles an hour. Then the fire jumped into the trees and surged toward them. The blaze swept toward the 24 men. The flame became unbearable. They ran to a rock slide and lay there face down. To keep from smothering, they put wet handkerchiefs over their faces. The fire whipped toward them, but they hung on. The terrific heat made some men's clothing burst into flames. But whenever someone's clothing caught fire, the man next to him slapped it out. They lay there for almost an hour as the fire raged by. When the smoke had finally cleared enough, they started getting up. 1, 2, 3. Each man counted his comrades as they arose. Miraculously, all 24 had survived the flaming ordeal. Looking around, the only other living thing they saw was a badly burned bear cub. He was clinging, terrified, to a charred tree limb. Gently, they helped him down. The men carried the little cub through the burned-out forest that was once his home. On his way out, the little cub saw the burned and disfigured trees that would never again offer cool shade to deer and other wild creatures. There was no grass left. No grass to feed animals or protect the soil from the heavy rains that would soon come. The trout no longer had a place to swim. The streams were choked with debris. Wood ash, lye burned their mouths, poisoning many. The little cub saw many of his friends who were not as lucky as he. This had been a big forest fire and a great loss to our country. 5 days were required to get it under control. 5 days in which over 17,000 acres of timber were burned, countless animals killed, grass scorched, and the water producing and storage capacity of the land badly hurt. No longer would this part of the forest be fun to camp in. No longer was this forest a place fit to live or play in. So they took the small cub from his ruined home. Forest rangers, veterinarians, and wardens from the New Mexico Game and Fish Department treated his wounds and burns. His feet were carefully bandaged. He was fed baby food to stem his hunger. Day by day, the kind treatment paid off. He was getting better. Soon they were to take off his bandages. His hair grew back over his burned spots. He became well. Then the little bear cub got a name. Smokey. That's perfect. We'll name him after the symbol of forest fire prevention. Well, how do you like your name, Smokey? The name stuck. Look, he's out walking. Hurry and see Smokey. He was becoming pretty well known. Since his home was destroyed, Smokey was put on a plane and flown across the country to the capital in Washington, D.C. On his way there, Smokey saw his former home, what was left of it. When he landed at the airport, he was met by press photographers and reporters. People crowded around to see Smokey. Smokey Bear. Hi, Smokey. Someone put a forest ranger hat on him just like in the posters. And Smokey posed for some more posters. The results met with his approval. The posters were everywhere. Hey, look, it's Smokey. In the forests, in schools, on the street, everywhere you looked, there was Smokey looking at you. He even became a star on radio. Tonight I'd like to tell you the story of a bear, of Smokey Bear. And on television too. Soon he will get a new home in the Washington Zoo, and he will never be lonely again. As Smokey grew up, he had something to tell folks, and he still tells them the same thing. Smokey tells them how he hates forest fires, how they destroy his animal friends, how they burn up timber that could have been used to make homes, perhaps, a new home for you, how they waste wood that could have gone into furniture, or even to make paper to print comic books on. And Smokey tells how fire destroys good, clean water that we need to make things live and grow. How it scorches the grass many animals need for food. Smokey wants to make sure everybody is careful in the forest with matches, holding them until cold. That every camper puts out his fire, dead out. that no cigarette is tossed on the ground, but is crushed out. That's a lot of work for one bear. I thought I'd help by telling Smokey's story so you'd know why Smokey is out to end all forest fires. If we listen to Smokey, no other cub will suffer the way he did, orphaned, burned, and made homeless by a fire. Let's all remember what Smokey says. Only you can prevent forest fires. The end.